Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have the return of the Cold Relic stories with Signal Intercept. So, as always, this story, which is from the Cold Relics site, like their main page, but also you can find it on creepypasta.wiki. And the person that posted on creepypasta.wiki is Digigekko. And the author that's credited on Cold Relics is Kate/Boris/Tyler, but it's probably just Tyler. Since he's the one that's mentioned most in the About page, next to our hero, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check it out at their main website or on the creepypasta.wiki site. And we will dive into the rundown. So, the following are email correspondences between Cold Relic investigative veterans, Kate, Boris, and Tyler, after the events of our hero being put into a coma by the Mr. Funbun game incident. So, Boris finds a lead with the seller of the strange electronic component that was in the game hardware. It eventually pans out with a back and forth of correspondences and like meetings and stuff like that. And he discovers that there's a site in Pennsylvania where people had allegedly seen a park in the middle of the woods, and also experienced a strange broadcast in the same area. Bruno and Kate head out that way, searching for answers and updating Tyler, who was unable to go. The next few parts are the much more storied summaries of their discoveries the 2 nights Kate was there on their trip. And she's like relaying it to Tyler via email. So on day 1, they found the site, though not much more than scant evidence something had been there. They find like the train tracks that supposedly ran right next to the park in the woods, like the secret train tracks. But they were also like cut off from the main rail line and also like in heavy ruin and an abandonment. So yeah, like they find like the signs of something there, but nothing else. However, as they are leaving and going back to their van on the main road through the woods, at around 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., all signals in the area, including GPS, are drowned out by a mysterious local signal. Boris uses the equipment at his van to find the frequency, which is off the usual bands of AM and FM. However, they only manage to recover the tail end of the broadcast. It appears
that's essentially the dark web of
of analog horror. Yeah, it's basically like it's the analog dark web.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it's fine. Like again, like yeah, like we'll get into that's basically what number stations are.
Yeah.
It appears that the pattern, like the tail end of what they recorded, was a pattern of prime numbers going up to 97 before repeating. So on night 2, they return with the intent to listen to the entire signal. At first it seems pretty mundane, like I said, like just kind of repeating the same prime number message over and over. However, a message about something initiating for 90 minutes and a very strange, intense energy fluctuation in the air prompts them to dig further into the signal. Boris reveals he has the game equipment, from Funbun and such, from Electric Rabbit, on site, like in his van, and intends to plug it in with a receiving dish to experiment with combining Funbun with this strange signal in the air, because that can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. This causes some very strange visual apparitions and alters their mental state of mind. However, those all sort of dissipate after a few seconds after Boris turns off the equipment. He then brings out the strange component from earlier, now wired to 5 of them, what he is calling the engine, and plugs that in. And that's when things get dangerous. Kate blacks out and finds herself in a strange dreamlike space and Kittyland, but also her dead sister, who is actually the entity that was behind Mr. Funbun, now revealed in its true form. Question mark? Like it can be assumed that the form that it takes in the story is its true form. And it's this silhouette of a figure, and the silhouette is just like void, like it's just absolute darkness, outlined by energy amidst a landscape of dark static. And it attempts to corrupt and take over Kate. She then wakes up as the power of the device runs out because it takes a lot of energy, and they had a generator, and it was only going to last about 5 minutes once it was turned on. It appears Boris also went under when the frequency struck them, but unlike Kate, there was no Kittyland or any other kind of like significant details that like she had with him. It was just like kind of a weird staticky forest and the monster. And so he just simply outran the monster until the power went out and they woke up. Kate left the next day, and Boris stayed for a few more days to dig up more information if he could, but got spooked by the appearance of a man in a suit watching him in the woods. After this, Kate is done with this mess, though fears that the other two won't let up so easily. And then Tyler replies at the end with a response to the updates that he's been receiving, and a lead to a place in Ukraine. Finn, for now. So, with that out of the way, I suppose we shall move on to...
Everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions!
At this point. So I've got 3. I'm going to start with this one, which is from the entry, it's 06-26-15. It's from Boris to Kate and Tyler. Subject is details. He's read the stories, and while he didn't... sorry, this is from Boris. He's read the stories, and while he didn't know anything about the first 3, and only a little about the game incident, through his dealings with the It's Online community, he seemed to be a little more interested in the idea of Kittyland. Okay, so... and the reason I did that is because I did that... that's how I read all of Boris's notes, like stuff, in this story and in Electric Rabbit. So,
Of course.
Because it was said that he was like Russian or Ukrainian. So,
Yep.
The issue here is through his dealings with the It's Online community. I think is It's supposed to be like some kind of acronym, or is that just a typo? I feel like it's probably just a typo because it's supposed to be like the online community, like as in the community that it was investigating the Funbun situation.
Well, it's not capitalized, so
it wouldn't be. Yeah, so it's just a typo then.
Through its online community.
Yeah. Oh, through its online community. I feel like either get rid of the or the it. Like
It
you don't
has
need
to stay
both.
there, I think, because
Mhm.
it's not like the online. Well, I guess the works because
it's like
talking about the online community in regards to this, not just the online community in general.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like it's like earlier. Yeah, it's like and only a little about the game incident through his dealings with its online community.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it could go either way, honestly, because it could be like through his dealings with the online community, because like the online community could be the one for the game incident, which is referenced in the same sentence.
Yes, or it
So-
actually is the its online community because the its online
could be
community
Pennywise,
is Well, it's either that or it's the online community that Mikey runs in regards to his stories and such.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. The growing mimetic virus that is the it stories. It's sweeping the internet.
You string them all together, they make a story.
Yes. It could be its online community or it could be the online community, but not both. That's what we can agree on. And then my next one is from date 040416 from Kate to Tyler, subject first day. Aware that when a group of kids from long ago came out here, comma, they got lost all day, comma, we came in equipped, comma, with plenty of water and GPS cable devices. So I think that the last comma there, like between equipped and with, shouldn't be there because it kind of like stops that part of the sentence like for me, and then like, oh no, it's supposed to keep going.
Which part? Sorry,
like
I had to find it.
Okay, so like, where it says like, aware that when the group of kids from long ago came out here, comma, they got lost all day, comma, we came in equipped, comma, with plenty of water and GPS capable devices.
Yeah,
I feel like it could be easily like just remove that last comma so it reads more like they got lost, comma, we came in equipped with plenty of water and GPS capable devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they got lost all day, so we came equipped with plenty of water and GPS capable devices because it's in reaction to what was just said.
Yeah, fair enough. And then my next one here, actually my last one, from date 040416. It's the same. It's from the same paragraph, or not the same paragraph. It's from the same entry as the previous error. We only caught and recorded the last 50 seconds of the beeping before it promptly ended, right as the clock hit 9. So I think you need to remove the at. So again, or it could be a couple of ways. So like either it should read before it promptly ended right at 9 o'clock, or get rid of the at, and so it says right as the clock hit 9. So you're keeping everything except for that at.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's my grammar inquisition. So, Mikey, these stands for evil. What do you got?
So, grammar inquisition, I have, unlike in the story, it was a real L place.
What?
So there's
Where
just
is that?
a random L.
Where is
Wow.
that?
It is there.
No, but like, where is that in the like? Because okay, so am I the only one who did this through organization of like
course.
entries?
Why would
God damn it!
Why would we name all these entries? There's so many.
God damn it!
Do you have a specific section for the one where Tyler responded by saying "Yep"?
No.
Oh, really? Weird. I'll break it down for you. This is how you find it. You go
Okay.
Control F and type in real space L. There it is.
Okay. Give me a second. Control F.
Guarantee there will only be one instance of real space L in this.
Oh, okay. That's definitely that's wow.
Yeah.
Now I got it. It's like because it's like even if you like misconstrue that L, that lowercase L as an I, it could be unlike in the story, it was a real I place.
I'm assuming what happened was it was being typed up as it was a real location. Like, no, let's call it a place. Let's hit backspace. Just not enough.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
These things happen.
Yeah, especially in
It
emails.
does.
So
Yeah. All right. And then the next one I have, I've always liked lost or strange media. So sitting around listening for audio that I'm guessing almost no one else has heard can provide some excite or at least suspense. So
damn.
my issue here shouldn't be excitement.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Conjunction junction.
All right. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It can screw with wiring. and maybe use them to produce a radio signal of some kind. It shouldn't even be possible that it could be interacting on a biological level. It feels like we're exploiting what happened. It's possible other people have had similar experiences or may even have some distant link to this shadowy organization. It took some pushing, but I got the seller to agree to a get-together. But the seller must still know something we don't. It weighs about half a pound and is the size of a computer mouse. It's a phantom, unique piece of machinery. And while I can't share how many units he has left and locked away, it's definitely more than one and much less than 100. So that implies a delivery driver, perhaps. It's like this group is suddenly real, you know? But, damn, the implications of a truth like that. So, the units lingered in a locked crate in a big old safe in a basement for years. But I wish it could have gotten us somewhere. But the seller just sent me an email out of the blue with a small story and this attached. And if it's real, that might not be an entrance sign. It could be a display for a ride of some kind. But that's clearly a second D after the first. It's strange. And then there's what he wrote. It isn't you or your game group that's led to this, as I've been planning to leave for a while. But I figure that if I'm doing something that will make me a little safer from anyone who knows of me, I might as well take the opportunity to get out a few things I was afraid to before. But we found it. It had no roads leading to it, no parking lots, no visible working lights. It was fake. It was all wood. But there are a couple of other things to note. It came out of and returned to the overgrown, deep woods, but the track itself seemed maintained, still serviceable, lots of railway gravel, but no idea where it would have connected to the main line. It's from a piece of developed microfilm that was stashed away inside the wall of a cardboard box. But it was definitely a real place, sort of. So, in all likelihood, this is goodbye. And that's it. But I don't know what it all means. And an image like this can just be photoshopped from someone's snapshot. But do keep researching this and pictures. It's somewhere near Centralia? It was just a town that is now all but abandoned because it has an eternal coal fire under it and inspired classic horror game franchise guy. But there might also be something out there. So, either of you want to go looking for scary stuff in the middle of nowhere? But I just have some reservations about going on this trip with someone I still don't know that well. And I forgot my knife. But you do that anyway, right? And if I didn't get a picture of some leftover from the real Kittyland, then maybe we'd still pick up the mysterious radio station. So long as something weird or unexplainable happened, I would be satisfied. And luckily, Boris is actually quite an outdoorsman. So off the two of us went, into the woods, looking for something that might not be there at all and never was. It was nice just being out in nature, hearing it, doing little more than walking and taking pictures of animals and trees. It didn't even take long for me to forget why I was out there in the first place. It wasn't like there was any evidence of anything nefarious, or at least what was left of it. It was in a state of heavy disrepair, and probably hadn't been maintained in any way for at least 20 years. And just like in that fictional account, we, at first, found no sign of anything ever being out there other than the railroad, which did still provide enough of an incentive to spend all day looking for more. It wasn't until Boris took out the light metal detector he had packed did we make any progress. But here's a decent one anyway. It nicely shows just how normal the forest is. It went from seeing 7 plus satellites to 0 in an instant. So by the time we were back in the van, it was pitch black out. It was nearing 9 at night, and we were about ready to go back to the motel, but Boris wanted to try searching outside of the usual civil radio frequencies. And he didn't have to search far. It sounded like Morse code, or maybe a number station. But it was the something we were looking for, and that was it, really. And it might not even be interesting. But I was hoping for more suspense and build up to something. So there's a chance that tonight might be bigger than you think. And after you read it, and before you ask, just know that I'm dealing with it. But that it's also something I don't really want to talk about anymore. And nor do I want to write a proper beginning to all this. It did come in better, but after a few minutes it sounded like we had heard all it had to offer, and the van's loudspeakers revealed nothing of much interest. It didn't sound off every individual digit, but rather counted the first number and then the next. So, for 97, it beeped 9 times, paused a moment, and then followed with 7 more. But there was nothing to hear anymore except for a dull static. It was simply titled Rabbit, the same file that he still had yet to find a way to open or read, which was generated when an entity took over his house's wiring. But he was certain that the being that took the form of the rabbit was somehow alive in the game, or at least came alive while it was running, and it had a connection to this fake, dreamlike theme park that only seemed to exist in some dark, scrambled corner of my memory. And here was Boris, who entered our lives and had so far been our greatest asset in expanding our knowledge of a forgotten past. But I only actually responded with a go ahead, and nothing happened. But he wasn't actually done setting things up, and I made more observations. And outside, in the fog, I began to see poorly defined shapes like dark specters drifting about in the mist. Or was this something even bigger, like our reality or dimension beginning to merge with another? But just before he had shut it down, I had caught a brief glimpse of a more refined shadow, straight ahead, like a hole in the fog that repelled all of the vapors. It had no face, but I felt it was staring at me. It disappeared the instant our broadcast stopped. So, if we felt trapped somewhere, it would only last for so long. It sounded like a good risk minimizer, and I agreed to it. So Boris isn't solely to blame for what happened next. It but it wasn't jittering several times a second. It was still like film grain. It was like the boundary of an outdoor area in an early 3D video game. It was night and very dark, though the clouds and the leaves of the trees glowed bright white, as if this realm existed inside a photo taken by infrared film, which enhanced heat sources and certain colors. But in this case, the grass was pure black, though I could see every individual glowing blade. But all of these elements had nothing on the world's centerpiece, Kittyland itself. It was alive, bright, noisy, and full-sized, as big as any amusement park in our reality. It was maybe a half-mile away, with several spotlights that swirled around into the abyssal, starless sky. Its name covered the main marquee in various shades of gray that must have been colorful, if color could only exist here. But the park itself was empty of people. It ran on its own, fully automated, every ride in constant motion with no passengers. It was more important to walk through and see everything, hopefully finding another clue in the process about how this place existed and who created it. It matched the map that our friend had drawn, the description of it in his story, the shared memories between him, Tyler, Jack, and myself. But Boris had never visited it, and I remember suddenly wondering what he was seeing on his end. But then it all changed and became too visceral, and I could easily sense the hostility that this thing had tried to disguise within itself. But I could see the grain in its eyes, and then there I was. It was already too late to try and run. It was dark and featureless, its body a black hole that was the only thing truly solid in this world, as nothing, not even film grain or static, inhabited its form. Its outline, however, was very energetic. It was like seeing a growing flame burn in negative space into an old film reel. And even though it had no eyes, I could feel its piercing gaze. It brought them into the air, almost to the point where I'd be lifted off the ground. Or maybe they were converting them into that strange material entirely. It was just me and the entity which was turning me into a copy of itself, or taking over my mind, or deleting my very existence. It spread past my shoulders and started its way up my neck. But I'm here now. So, with that reminder to you, the reader or listener, I'll go ahead and move to the end, since I did wake up. But prior to all of that, I hadn't moved at all. But none of what he had gone through was described to me until we were back at the motel, where my heart was still going more than an hour later. And Boris, although not as traumatized as I had been, was in no condition to drive safely. So, following the longest 5 minutes of my life, we waited in the dark, cold, foggy forest. It was easy to see he wanted even more. It's taken up until now to feel ready to get the rest of this story written. But despite his own encounter with the true form of the rabbit, or the entity that projected it, he left unsatisfied. So his only conclusion was that, in all likelihood, the station didn't exist at all. And to our friend, I'm still wishing you the best, but when you wake up, we need to have a little chat about this whole thing you dragged us all into. It could be that the entire thing is made out of extraordinarily exotic material. And now you've got me watching my back too. And guys, you're under no obligation to pursue this further. I know, but while you were gone, I learned about a place in the Ukraine.
Dun dun. Man, so listening to this, first off, thanks for the secondary rundown. Yet again.
Mhm.
Also, separating the wheat from the chaff of our listeners. But on a more serious note, it kind of felt like they were like, because you had no like, it all sounded like it was all Kate talking the entire time.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
there
much.
because you had no inflection of like who like of a different character or something like that.
Oh,
So
you
it
know,
just sounded like they were just
sometimes.
going through cycle. Sorry.
because he didn't go Russian sometimes. Yes.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, so it just read it like listening to this entire like thing, and like it honestly felt like they were just like stuck in like a time loop or cycles because like they went to the park, then they went back to the park, then they went back to the park,
Yeah.
then they met the creature, like after they did something, like after Boris did something. But yeah, it kind of felt like that. Also, again, I know this is like a conjunction junction and an it story kind of thing, and like you shouldn't use these words at the front of things all the time. However, to counter that, this is all like email correspondences, and emails do that all the time. Like you do that in emails all the time. But it definitely comes in a lot more at the end because like she's telling a story and jotting down like her tale.
Yeah,
In
but
the last
she's
two.
also not necessarily a professional writer, so she just
No,
gets
but she also
information.
did ask. Yeah, she also did ask Tyler to edit it.
Who is
Or, like,
also
do some
not a
editing.
professional
Not a
writer.
professional. Yeah, that's fair.
And that's the end of my. Yep.
All right. Then on to Gamer.
My first one was just kind of like a quick blanket statement of basically what you just said. It's a typed email, so can't really shit on the grammar too much. Just in general
Okay,
for the
yeah.
whole thing. That being said,
Yeah.
This quote here again.
Sorry. That being said, here's my 12-page grammar inquisition.
Yeah, totally. Now here we go. So again, no roads, but there was a train track of all things that ran parallel to the fake park. So, as soon as I read that, I'm like, so a train track that has all things that run along it? That's what it's trying to say?
No.
I know. Joking
Okay.
aside,
Okay. Sorry.
the wording of it is like
It's my knee-jerk
of
reaction.
all things.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
That should be comma.
Yeah.
So it would be again, comma, no roads, comma, but there's a train track, comma, of all things, comma, that ran parallel to the fake park. It sounds bad when I call out every comma. However, when I'm saying it
But
normally,
this is the grammar inquisition.
when you say it normally, it'd be like this. Again, no roads, but there was a train track of all things that ran parallel to the fake park. It has to be separated. So it's not a train track of all things.
You gotta keep them separated.
Yeah.
This one in particular is a very critically silly
Yes, of course.
because like yeah.
I mean,
Also, I apologize for my knee-jerk reaction. It's like, no, you how do you not notice? No, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I didn't pull a dummy like I did last time, where I read something wrong and it ruined the whole story for me.
Okay, that's good.
It's fine. And then my next,
This story ruined me in other ways. Sorry.
yeah, I mean you're not wrong.
No.
Then my next one and last one is just a little bit in regards to the formatting of of all of the emails. Most of them were fine, but when it got to this part, it was just kind of like a little bit of a clusterfuck because there's no spacing in between each one because it goes like date, then there's one space, Boris, like date space, from space, to space, subject space, words space, and then right after only one space after that, it goes to the next date. But when it's this block where Kate sends an email to Boris subject meeting up, and then Kate says sounds good, and then immediately after that is a date, and then from Tyler to Boris, subject meeting up, and then he says fuck yeah man, progress, and then date, Boris. Like in that section, they kind of blend together a bit because they're all the actual meat of the emails are so short that like it's just one line after one line, one after one line. And I feel like just having a single extra space, single extra like push down. What's the return? What's the term for that?
Enter.
Well, I know the button. What would you call clicking everything down once? I know the button.
I think it's just moving down one.
Fine.
Like down one, moving down one space.
Space.
Carriage return.
Yeah, returning down, I guess. Yeah, because putting a space could
Sure.
refer to putting spaces, the space bar button. I hate English. Either way, I feel like there should be a tab down, return down, whatever the frick the word is, in between each, an extra space in between each email. Just because
I do have another alternative for this too.
What a line.
Yeah, horizontal line. Break up each individual fucking one.
Yeah, that would work too.
Also, it's interesting to sorry. It is also interesting to note because we read this off the creepypasta.wiki site because that's when I posted to you guys. However, looking at the story as it is formatted on the Cold Relics website, he does go in and like not only is it bolded like the date, the from, to, and subject, but it's also like a slight gray color versus the stark white and regular font size, font type of the actual writing.
Okay, so once again, you give us the worst option to read the story while you secretly keep the better option to yourself.
Honestly, I didn't look. Personally, when I was reading the story, I had it all like unformatted and on a Google Doc, so I read it like hard mode.
Yeah, true. But I noticed this specifically when I copy and pasted it in because it was all formatted the same, and if I select everything and make it all line spacing, I think default it came in like 1.5 line spacing. But when you put it back to single line spacing, you can see that there isn't even a single extra line put between things. It's just a huge block of words.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, like I just looked at like I just checked out the Cold Relics website like today, like right before recording. So like that's why I have it up.
Yes.
So
that's all I got for grammar.
Oh, okay. So I guess we didn't really. Yeah, it's sort of hard to like give this one too much gripe because it is formatted in a way that like immersion wise, this is how it would be written. So
actually, you know what? But I'll have another grammar one. There should be some misspellings put in here on purpose.
No, because that's explained in the story that like Tyler is doing his best to edit these.
The whole thing? I thought it was just.
I would assume that he'd do it to all of them, even like the ones like because for the most part, I mean there is like F yeah man, like I mean I would definitely or like I happen to have that one here on in my note or like on the page, but I'd assume that like because all of this, the reason why we have this this excerpt of like all these entries is because Kate didn't want to like this is all getting posted post-mortem, basically, like after the events, like weeks after the events. And Kate said in her last entry she didn't want to make an introductory thing for all this stuff, so she told Tyler to just take our previous correspondences and use that as the intro.
Yeah.
So I would assume again like he'd do maybe some baseline editing to like fix up some of the errors, but obviously he wouldn't catch them all because he's only human and probably not in character, probably not a professional writer. Yeah, so I mean, like the immersion's there. It's just like again, like the story does have a habit of like giving an issue and then like a sentence or paragraph later explaining why that issue's there and like sort of bring it up. But that's in my actual thoughts. I know. But you're done then?
Yeah.
Okay. So then on to actual thoughts. And And this is from this quote here is from the date 06/2015 from Tyler to Boris. Subject meeting up. F yeah, man, progress. You going to snag one of those babies for me? Date 06. Okay, this is Boris replying. No tie. No SC or no tie. No SCP branded computer hardware for you. So this got a chuckle out of me because these cold relic artifacts that we've been like reading about for the last like couple stories are kind of SCP-ish. And these characters are internet junkies. Like they're always online and stuff like that. So it makes sense that they would read SCP wikis or they'd know of the SCP Foundation and stuff like as a piece of internet pop culture.
So I'm not gonna lie, I read that as no thank you. No SCP.
Yeah, same. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but yeah, no tie. Yeah, like initially, I was actually gonna put that in my my grammar position because it's like I understand Ty is a shortening of Tyler, but like when it came up there, I honestly thought no, thank you.
Yep.
And then I had like double taked. I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah, no, whoops. So on to my next one here. This is from date 06/26/15 from Boris to Kate, Tyler, or to Kate and Tyler. Subject details. In the way, here's what he gave me. He knew nothing about his dad's job. Fin. Done. End of we have reached a dead end. But he thinks he worked with a factory in Pennsylvania, where he still lives. Oh, damn it! I had one of those moments again, where it's like, anyways, here's what I know. He knew nothing about his dad's job. Done. Like, fuck. It was again one of those moments where it's like, I shot the character, bang, with a glance. Oh,
yeah.
So yeah. And then my next one here. Hopefully he'll give us even just a little more in the future. My attention is needed elsewhere for a bit. I have some family matters to attend to. A consequence of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Woof. How are we picking creepypastas with lingering current political events going on recently? Because right now, like as of this recording, and probably as of this podcast, this episode getting posted, Ukraine and Russia tensions are pretty high.
Yep.
At their borders.
Yep.
However, then again, 2014 to 2015, which is when these emails were coming out for these characters, was when Ukraine was dealing with some shit more so than usual with Russia, like, the Crimea annexation, like when Russia took the peninsula of Crimea from Ukraine. So, yeah. We haven't, it's weird, like last couple of, I've just happened to notice this, through the last couple of episodes of our show for the new year, for 2022. We just keep grabbing these ones that have either they're just on our mind, the political shit is, or the current events shit is on my mind, so I keep seeing it in our stories that we're doing, or we just happen to be picking stories that just have an inkling of that's kind of current events shit. But I digress. I will move on to my next one.
Just good / bad luck.
Yeah. Good in that we get to talk about it. Bad in that it's happening. But I'll move on to my next one here. This is from date 01/08/2016 from Boris to Kate and Tyler. Subject: progress. Look at this. Now. So this is actually not Boris talking. This is the guy, the seller, talking to Boris and Kate and Tyler. Now, I'm a bit older than you guys, and this was in 1985. I've never gone back there, and if online satellite maps are to be believed, it no longer exists. Here's what I can tell you, and it keeps going. And this is again in regards to the park that was in the local woods and had an urban legend around it. And to this, I was like thinking it could easily like it. So it's really easy, I feel, for the shadowy organization to just manipulate like Google Maps and stuff like that to hide the park from satellite imagery. If they were indeed trying to hide it, or if it, like he said, like this was in 1985, and like current satellite maps may not show it because it's just been overtaken by nature, right?
Yeah, or they just use the clone stamp tool to just clone the trees around where it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like that. Like I don't know of a specific, but I'm pretty sure that's like something that's come up in conspiracy theories that like the government is hiding certain locations on Google Maps by just like photo editing the images that the satellites take. Like, because you can go, they can technically go in and edit things out or blur things out.
Well, of course,
So,
like there's stuff that they don't want people to know where it is, like Area 51, for people to go Naruto running over to,
Yeah, exactly. Although you can, I think, see Area 51. I was trying to remember what the name was called. Homey Airport or Groom Lake. Yeah, like I think you can actually see the facility where Area 51 is through satellite maps. But I mean, like they're probably like covering up like the giant saucers that they have on ground.
Yeah, of course.
But I'll move on to the next one here. This is also from the same date, like the same time-stamped email. One last thing. I've never tried to find it, but I've picked up local stories since I was a kid about people hearing a strange radio broadcast at random hours when in or near the forest. I don't know what it plays, but it adds to the strangeness of those woods, and I thought it was worth mentioning. So the story, so the story's title of this, like Signal Intercept, was with regards to a signal that the characters are going to intercept near the woods. Because initially, when I was like reading the story and like reading through its like epistolary format of like email entries and correspondence and stuff like that, I kind of almost thought that this was like a signal, like the signal being intercepted was the email correspondence by the shadowy government. However, thinking about that now, that makes no sense because why would the shadowy government like in fiction post this on? or the Cold Relics website.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really that initial theory didn't have any water. However, now I know what the title is in reference to is that they are intercepting a signal. So, moving right along. From the date 02/29/16, from Kate to Boris. Subject: think I've tracked it down. Again, the idea that there might be interesting stuff out there to take pictures of is the clincher for me, but I just have some reservations about going on this trip with someone I still don't know that well. Convince me even more within the next 2 weeks that you're a trustworthy guy, and we'll see if I book a flight or not. And then this is Boris's reply to that. Kate, I am quite the gentleman. I promise you. I don't want to go at this alone, and would love to have a partner, guy or girl. Besides, dating or even just hitting on anyone is not on my mind right now. Not a priority. If that's what you are even concerned about, perhaps we can chat a little, get to know each other more as friends. I am a professional about everything I do. No funny business. So, okay. I believe Boris, based on the previous story that like of Electric Rabbit, like he's a good guy and he's like a nice guy and some of that. But this email like response does not inspire confidence standalone for me.
Yeah, not really. Like she didn't specifically call out those things that he's answering.
I mean, she's insinuating some of that, but like that is definitely like his response is like, "I am quite a gentleman, milady."
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh God, no!" Like, yeah, like a standalone, like by itself, like not knowing Boris from like a previous story, I'd be like, "Yeah, that's not." Those are some red flags, like even some minor red flags in your response. And then we cut to the next part, which is in 04/02/16. From Boris to Kate and Tyler, subject heading out. This is the one that caught me with like thank you. It's like Ty. Ty. You've seen way too many movies and TV shows. I sometimes wonder about your perception of how the world works. Also, it's totally possible to go out in the woods with a nice lady who you have a purely platonic friendship with in your search for an urban legend, cryptid, or remnant of a scary internet story. Just look at the guys and the girl from the Blair Witch Project did together. And then Tyler's response, dude, not the greatest example. And I'm on Tyler's side on that. That is not a great example, especially if you read the subtext theory of the Blair Witch Project, where there was no ghost. It was all a planned out murder by the guys to kill Heather in the Blair Witch Project. Like, if you there is a mundane theory that is so much darker than like it being a ghost of a witch out in the Blair Witch Project. Then the next thing here, horrible example. Like that, to me that is a horrible example. Like the fact that, Anyway, so the next thing here is though that he continues on with, or Tyler continues on with, is also Heather, the actress, brought a knife to ensure she'd stave off any advances from Josh and Mike. Everyone knows that. Okay, so actually in the movie, like, he's saying like the actress, like, because like that is also the character, because in the movie she says that she brought a knife, like jokingly, to ward off the advances of Josh and Mike at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, that's said in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like that. So Tyler comes back with that after saying like not the greatest example, and then Kate pipes in with the I think this is like the same. Yeah, this is the same date, and she's like reading. So she this is her response to what Boris and Tyler have been talking about. I just landed and I opened my email to see this conversation. Great. I regret this already, and I forgot my knife.
Mm-hmm.
And like as I got to this part, I was like, okay, that was a fun payoff for this back and forth.
Yes.
Like, I really appreciated that. Like the like, no, it is totally fine to be in the woods with a girl, hunting down a cryptid or spooky thing. Look what happened in the Blair Witch Project. And then not the best example, dude. And then Kate is like, great, just read these responses. Fuck my life.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to buy a knife before I come over there.
Yeah, I'm grabbing a knife now. I'm at the Bass Pro.
Mm-hmm. What kind of knife would you suggest, Boris?
Yeah,
A very small knife.
Small knife, barely discernible from pin. Anyway, yeah, my next one here is from the date 04/04/16, from Kate to Tyler. Subject: the first day. After Boris picked me up at the Buffalo airport in his van, which he set up as a mobile. No, I understand why you're laughing.
Immediately, like,
in his van.
Of course he does.
Yeah, of course. It even says free candy on the side.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Boris. I don't want to think this way about Boris because I know he's a sweet guy in the stories.
Signs. There's so many red flags.
Yeah,
There's also a red flag hanging from the back of his van because it's the soldier flag.
Yeah. It's, and I'm definitely not picturing like a minivan or anything. I'm picturing like a panel van.
Yeah, a white panel van. Yeah.
Yeah, like a utility van, because like, again, like he says, like Kate says in her story, continuing on, which he set up as a mobile computer lab.
Mm-hmm.
We drove south to the farming town of Chester Creek, located in rural northwest Pennsylvania. That isn't even remotely close to its real name, but I think it fits well enough. So I do find, aside, like the silliness of the van thing aside,
Mm-hmm.
I do find this interesting that they are continually supplying false names and redacting things in these correspondences, and we find out that like later, like Kate asks Tyler to redact things as she usually does. So again, we get kind of a back and forth on that. And it feels like these characters are trying to do some trade, some like decent trade craft, because and given the fact that there is a potential shadowy organization spying on them in the fiction of this world. It makes sense why they would have some kind of, like, they'd be trying for some kind of tradecraft to like stay under the radar. And before anybody asks, either mentally or out loud, yes, I did try to Google the place before reading ahead to find out that it was a false name. like I did try to Google Chester Creek, Pennsylvania.
So you pulled
and I was very confused.
You pulled
yes.
me. You're
and
confused about something and immediately tried to find the answer to it instead of finishing the paragraph off. I still have not learned my lesson on that. One day I will.
No, one day. But yeah, I did find an interesting little factoid. Yes, there is no actual town called Chester Creek. There is, however, a river called Chester Creek near Pittsburgh. On the exact opposite the exact opposite location of the state that we're in. Like, it's in the southeast rather than the northwest of Pennsylvania. So, yeah. Yeah, I basically I did a U, but also mutated it with my own thing of like immediately like search Google Mapping when I get a location.
Yeah.
But again, I like that tradecraft element of it. Like it makes sense, like that they try to hide the true names of things and places and people to protect them. But on to my next one here. I brought both my digital camera and my old film one as my B camera, just in case there was some kind of interference in the area that corrupted my memory card or something. Unlikely? Sure. But I don't want this to become one of those stories where the only photographic evidence didn't come out for some reason. And again, to this, I like how this story has the characters somewhat genre savvy, or at least even a little bit self-aware, like referencing things like Centralia and SCP earlier. And then now, like, it's like, no, I don't want this story, like we're trying to be prepared for all the different contingencies. Like, I don't want this to be like like your regular creepypasta where it's like, oh, this weird thing happened. Unfortunately, we don't have any evidence photographically, even though we brought photos, like cameras and stuff out, because something fucked with our footage, so we don't have that footage. For me, it helps ground it in reality, because that's exactly the kind of thing I'd be referencing and bringing up while out looking for some strange place or thing. We've done that on trips. Me and Gamer, and I think even Mikey was there for one of them or something like that, where we went out and like we were just like shooting the shit and like talking about like, oh, we're gonna see Slenderman out in these woods, kind of thing like that. So,
is that the day I got cursed?
Yeah, wait, yeah, that's also we also, so a little bit of a side. There was a YouTube video that we posted. I think it was I don't think it's on YouTube. A Slender vlog or a Slender story that there was a Slender video that we shot with our friend Dr. Leviathan as the Slenderman, and we're missing footage from our cameras.
Yeah, we definitely took different scenes and extra shots of the same scene, and they just weren't there. Yeah, and Gamer was behind the camera. We looked at the footage while we were there on site, but then when we returned, we couldn't find it. So it's not like
that was the day.
Record sometimes it's just it was there. We reviewed it, but between us taking it and getting it back home, it was just gone. Yeah,
and that was also the day that sparked a weird animosity from one of my dogs toward Gamer in Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And before that dog loved Gamer in Yellow.
Yes.
So it was like this weird, like, and so like I kind of hinted, or I would joke off and on that it's like it's because he's being Slender stalked, because we've invoked Slenderman by making a Slender vlog or by making a Slender video, and in some Slender vlogs, the dogs act strange or funny or even like kind of like have some animosity toward the victim of the Slender stalked. So,
but it's honestly the most realistic reason we have right now, because I haven't done a damn thing wrong to that dog.
No, I 100% you have never done anything wrong with that dog. Yeah, it's just a really weird outcome. And then like this dog, again, just to show something, this dog, when I take her on walks, I've gone past Gamer's house multiple times, like before this happened, and then after that incident, that dog refuses, like on pain of straining against her lead, to go even on the same side of the road as Gamer's house.
Yeah, so
Like, it is ridiculous.
clearly the only possible thing is just I'm just being Slunderstock now, and I just never know.
Yeah. I wonder if like Slenderman's just like chilling somewhere in your house. Like he's just like taking up like he's like an unwanted and an unknown roomie or like roommate you have in your house somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
I was expecting you like, thanks for that. I won't be sleeping anytime soon.
It's fine. Sleeps for the week.
Yeah, but getting back to the story at hand, like the story. The story's characters are very. I guess really what I'm trying to say here is like they're very grounded and like likable because they make sense in the context of like the world they live in and like their hobbies of internet sleuthing, basically. But I will move on to my next one, which again is in the same. Yeah, a bunch of these are in the same entry of 040416. So this is in regards to the forest photo that Kate took and posted in with the story. It's like, here's a decent one anyway. It's nice to show just how normal the forest is. And with the ellipses that's there, I like not gonna lie, I immediately opened the photo and zoomed closer and like searched around to see if I could find like a G-man in the background or some weird like anomaly in the photo.
Oh, you didn't?
Sadly, I didn't. Damn it! I knew you were gonna do that. Was there actually something, or are you just pulling my leg?
I don't know.
All right, moving on to the next one.
That being said, I didn't have a note of this, so I'm going to mention it now. Is this supposed to be a picture of the clearing that they're talking about, or just a random bit of forest?
I think it's just supposed to be a image of the forest that they were like hiking through, because it does like none of those trees look like it would like they were young enough to be like in the clearing.
And my question is, why didn't she post a picture of the clearing? The reason they went there?
That is a really good question.
Because even if it's just a normal picture, that is the reason they're there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit of an inconsistency. Like maybe the image shouldn't have just been like a picture of like the random forest that they're hiking through. It should have been like it couldn't be that hard to find a
picture of a clearing,
like a plot. Yeah, like a plot of forest where like it's all young trees versus old trees. Like I know there's some places around me that have that like location, but then again, like who knows what that situation is, wherever the author, like the actual author of the story is, like the one who posted these images and stuff like that. But yeah, that is something that is kind of annoying a little bit about that. Is it is sort of a random photo that she thought was nice, and so that's why she added it. But it's like, why wouldn't you take a photo of the clearing and include that just to show Tyler, since Tyler's like the one that's super obsessive about like finding these sites, right?
But the other thing too is like I just did a quick Google of clearing in a forest, and yeah, there's some pictures of clearings in a forest. But if it's that quick to find, then it ruins the immersion because they're like, oh, that's just the stock photo. I could find that.
Well, that's I mean,
if
like
you go find one, yes, like you're saying, that is the better way of doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't use like I assume like the author of the story went out into the woods near their house and took a photo of that.
Yeah.
On to my next one here. At 6:30 p.m. precisely, our GPS stopped working. It went from seeing 7+ satellites to 0 in an instant. And when this was brought up, I like I've never realized or never considered that you can you actually see how many satellites are covering your area on a GPS?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is that
Mikey?
Yeah, Mikey.
You can test. Normally, when you're testing GPS, it will tell you how many satellites you're connected to.
Okay.
Basically, if you're indoors and you do the test, it'll say like 1 or 2 is like not enough to actually get a GPS signal.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be able to triangulate your position, so it needs at least 3 satellites to figure out where you are.
Gotcha.
But once you're outside and whatever, then you can connect to all the satellites that are within range.
Okay. Yeah, I never realized that was an option on a GPS, although that makes sense that it might be. So, and my next one here, it sounded like Morse code or maybe a number station. He did a quick scan of the other nearby frequencies, found that they were silent, and returned to the odd one. And to this, I was like, yeah, number station weirdness. Love me that brand of mystery.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah. That's all I got to say on that. It's like, once number stations were introduced, or like the idea of like a weird radio frequency, like I was in because I love that weird shit. Then we have 041216 from Kate to Tyler, subject the second day. So these my quotes from this moving on are going to be from that entry. This is in regards to Kate saying if Tyler wants to include this stuff on the site, be selective and redact certain names and or whatever else, because she knows he's a smart guy and handles that kind of stuff properly. And yeah, just trying to again stay on the down low and like alter the names appropriately. And I'm glad we do get an in-story reason for the entries and also the redactions and such. It is something that I've noticed as I was reading the story, is that they would go ahead and answer something that they would go ahead and answer a question that I had while reading the story, like a sentence or even a paragraph later, like I kind of think we brought up earlier. And I know how much Gamer hates that, but I found it like pleasantly like, oh, good, they did fix that. Okay, cool. Or they did explain that away.
Yeah, I love going back over notes and deleting them. It's my
Yeah,
favorite
it's the
thing
best.
to do. It's not a waste of my time at all.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything is fine.
Yeah.
And then the next one here I have, admittedly, the tech aspects present in all of the stories so far is what has interested me the most. I've always liked lost or strange media, so sitting around listening for audio that I'm guessing almost no one else has heard of can provide some excitement or at least suspense. And this little like bit perfectly encapsulates my interest in the Cold Relics stories. Like, this is my interest in Cold Relics in a nutshell. Is the weird tech and the weird like media that they find and like the story around it. Because again, I love me my weird anachronistic tech that is vaguely supernatural or preternatural. In fact, I even bring that up in the next quote apparently, where like they plug in the thumb drive. Yeah, so he plugged a thumb drive into one of the laptops and copied over the single onboard file. It was simply titled Rabbit, the same file that he still had yet to find a way to open or read, which was generated when the entity took over his house's wiring. Boris set up a Wi-Fi connection between two computers intentionally without a security key. He transferred the file in between the two laptops several times, thereby sending it through the air, where just maybe it would interact with the Phantom broadcast. So again, like I said earlier, like just moments ago, I love this kind of weird pseudoscience stuff with anachronistic tech, having weird, even supernatural properties in these stories. Like it's interesting to me. I find it like it's almost mystifying to a way. But then I was like, I wonder if Mikey has some thoughts on this stuff, on this, because I know Mikey's generally are like hard science boy. So, Mikey, do you have any thoughts on the weird pseudoscience?
Well, the whole Wi-Fi thing, it's like, well, connecting one to another via Wi-Fi, like it's only going to communicate with the other computer. It's not like the radio signal is going to suddenly have access to their Wi-Fi password or no password.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to do is like, because because I mean the signal is in the air, like when it's transferring between like the one laptop to the other, like through the Wi-Fi connection. So I think he's hoping that because like of that intense like energy buildup that's in the air, in the atmosphere, in their current like location, that like maybe this weird supernatural signal will mingle with the other supernatural signal they're getting.
Yeah, he's hoping that Wi-Fi and radio will mix in the air.
Yeah.
Because of the weird anomalous properties of the file that he's transferring.
Yeah.
They're different frequencies. So you'd have to match the frequency somehow, which would be better if he had like a radio tuner or something like that.
Okay. I guess Boris didn't think of everything. Idiot. God. But yeah, I still found it like mystifying. Like even though like I acknowledge this isn't how science works. But again, we're also kind of dealing with a pseudoscience supernatural element to this thing because like this thing is working against logic in some cases.
I think Boris straight up said that himself. Like, this probably won't work, but I just wanted to try it.
Yeah, no, and again, like it falls into what I said earlier, where like they do kind of explain their rhyme and reason in some cases. So, like we do get like we're like it's not just like, oh, he just does this, and like I'm guessing this is why he's doing this. Like Boris straight up was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I don't think this is actually going to work, but like I'm drawing at straws at this point. Like I want to be thorough with my experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
It adds a little bit more. It makes a little bit more, or it gives the story a little bit more like sense or credence because like they're going in and explaining themselves in the story, not just letting it off to be assumed. Yeah. And my next one here is actually with regards to when they actually get the signals to intermingle and then have that weird experience with the fog and stuff. So the van's interior wasn't that colorful to begin with, but I noticed that the colors that did exist were a little desaturated, faded. And outside in the fog, I began to see poorly defined shapes, like dark specters drifting about in the mist. That sight shook me up a little. Were we in a dreamlike state? Was this what our comatose friend experienced? Or was this something even bigger, like our reality or dimension beginning to merge with others, or with another? So I actually have a slightly more mundane explanation for what's going on when like the frequency is like hitting their ears and stuff like that and affecting them. This could straight up just be a hallucinatory effect brought on by the sound straining their auditory senses and mind. Like there is a certain precedence for noise and for certain noises and frequencies that can affect the human mind in weird ways. Like not just the brown noise, which is from South Park, but it's also like it South Park kind of pulled that from like a conspiratorial or a conspiracy theory kind of thing. And like, yeah, like there are I've heard of events or like situations where like people living near like electric like radio towers have like a sense of oppression and like don't feel like 100%, and even like their health starts declining, and then when they leave that field, they are better. So yeah, it just kind of shows like these frequencies can affect your mind. Like that is a kind of scientific fact to a degree, and I feel like that's something that's one of the explanations that's missing, I think, in her speculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might help.
Yeah. She just goes straight to, reality and dimensions bending and merging, which I'm fine with, but also like maybe also present the fact that this could all just be a hallucinatory effect brought on by the frequency changing your mind.
But if she isn't aware that that's a possibility, she wouldn't necessarily go there first.
That's true. It definitely sounds like something Boris would have come up with. And then we get this scene here. But just before he had shut it down, I had caught a brief glimpse of a more refined shadow, straight ahead, like a hole in the fog that repelled all the vapors. It had no face, but I felt like it was staring at me. It disappeared the instant the broadcast stopped. And then, to me, I was just like, this is some Tillinghast resonator from beyond bullshit going on. Like, they've set a frequency that is affecting the human pineal gland, which does not exist. And they are seeing a parallel something that is usually not seen by humans, and it is looking back. Again, got some serious like science fiction vibes from what they were experiencing in that. Also, a little bit of Slender Man.
A little bit.
Because the whole, like, has no face, but it must scream. But it must stare. And my next one here, just what the hell were we about to reawaken? Or bring to life for the first time? I still don't know. But typing this right now after seeing the result, I can at least say that we never should have taken it so far. Besides, he told me, we'll draw so much power from running all of this that the generator will hold out for 5 more minutes tops. So if we felt trapped somewhere, it would only last for so long. It sounded like a good risk minimizer. And then this is my comment. It also sounds like famous last words.
Yeah, kind of, right?
Yeah, the investigation sickness wins the day. Like we must go deeper. And speaking of that kind of like term and like that reference, I took steps back. I took steps backward as it walked towards me, smiling, pretending to be a living, breathing child. But I could see the grain in its eyes. She was nothing but a photographic memory, brought into existence by invisible noise. So I wonder if Kittyland is actually, and this space that Boris and Kate and even our hero found themselves in when dealing with like these weird like frequencies that were affecting them. I wonder if like it's all some facet of like the astral plane, like it's a reality parallel to our own and is metamorphic to the collective human unconscious. Like maybe the experiments, the government group. This is kind of going into like my theory of like what's going on exactly, like on the broad spectrum of Kittyland and stuff. And I think we touched on it a little bit in the Kittyland stuff. But I feel like maybe this experiment that the government was working on was basically in line with something like Psychonauts or the concept of inner space, which where it's like a conspiratorial concept from like back in the 50s to the 70s of like mind altering exploration. Like you using some kind of technique, you can explore the dimension where like the collective human unconscious resides. So like you can, and like it's basically like where dreams are, like kind of where dreams collect and coalesce and stuff like that.
Is it also the video game Psychonauts, like the same sort of deal?
Psychonauts. Yeah, they basically you're psychic that goes into the human into different people's like dream worlds and thought processes. It's also where like Lovecraft kind of where a lot of like Lovecraft's Dreamland cycle has kind of like been taken in recent years. Like when you talk about like with Delta Green, the RPG, and when they start talking about like the Dreamlands, they are focusing on like the inner space theory, where like it's this reality that's within human subconscious rather than like outer space, which is beyond us. It's like another plane of reality or another existence sort of situation. I'm also like, as I was reading, as the story went on, I think this is just something that happens with like the Cold Relic stories in general. I was getting a strong vibes of like Alan Wake and Control, and even a little bit of the film series Insidious when they enter the Kittyland dimension subconsciously. And I mean, this story did technically come out before a few of those things. So I just thought that was kind of a neat, like I was just getting those vibes, and I was like, oh, this story is kind of telling the same kind of like ideas or concepts, just like a few years later or a few years before.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like with Control, particularly, it's like like an anachronistic object that has a supernatural ability or something unexplained or unexplainable as of yet with human understanding of science and tech. And then Alan Wake with like the whole like Mr. Static and like the weird presence or force that's trying to interact with us and take us over. So, and then Insidious with like the astral plane, or the place that the character in the story in the movie goes to, basically like the ghost realm. That's like kind of like the same. It's like a liminal space that like the Kittyland world was in. But I will move on to my next thing. I'm almost done, guys. I swear.
I mean, there's a lot of words, I understand.
Yeah, it was a very lengthy story. I tried screaming out, but still, the only sound that could exist was the loud, burning static destroying the universe. So I chose this line, but there are others throughout the story, and I fucking just love the descriptions of this other world, like the way it's described. It's like this weird supernatural space that Kittyland exists in, and it's being described with like old media descriptors, like a film reel, or like with static and film grain and stuff like that. It's kind of like it's kind of giving me the vibe of like transistor punk, or even like early cyberpunk descriptors. And actually, transistor punk horror might be an apt term for the Cold Relic stories. And for anybody who doesn't know what transistor punk is, it's sort of a derivation of the subgenre of cyberpunk, except it's taken it away from the 80s and going even farther back to like the 60s to 70s, with like psychedelic drug use, and also like the technology of that time period, which was like transistor radios and like radio frequencies and such.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. And basically, it's also about like altered states of mind as a result of like the technology that's kind of prevalent. So, but I am onto my last actual thought, and this is from the end, or this is from Tyler's reaction to Kate's email the second day. Holy hell! I'm sorry that happened to you. Nightmare doesn't even begin to describe it. We truly are dealing with something otherworldly here. And now you've got me watching my back, too. I think I'll double up on network security. And guys, you're under no obligation to pursue this further, I know. But while you were gone, I learned about this place in Ukraine. I'll have more details in a few days. And I was like, God damn it, a fucking cliffhanger, really?
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna have to do the next one. Aw, shucks.
Hey.
Yeah, well, I have it already in our roster for like the next little bit. So, but yeah, that's my actual thoughts about the story. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
Okay. Well, my first thought here actually isn't really related to the story, but it's interesting.
Cool.
So, so when I was reading this story, I was drinking coffee, and when
I'm glad you continue with drinking coffee. It's like I like coffee because I was like I was drinking at the time.
I don't remember much what happened in the story.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I was nearing the bottom of the cup, I got to the point where Boris asked about meeting up. So I finished my coffee and then thought to myself, I should go get another cup. And then I read the next line, which was, sounds good. So I went and got myself another cup of coffee.
So the story was speaking to you on a metaphysical level.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. No, that seems very apt for the story.
So my next actual thought here is that, well, I've never played a Silent Hill game. So when they mentioned Centralia, Pennsylvania, I looked it up, and it is a real ghost town.
Yep.
So.
No, it's sorry. Yeah. I could go on about Centralia because it fascinates me. It fascinates me.
I too had no idea what it was.
You can go on and tell us some interesting facts.
Okay, so yes, Centralia is a real place in Pennsylvania. It was a town that was built around a coal mine, and I think it was like in the I don't know, I can't remember when exactly the incident happened, since 1962. But basically, the town was abandoned because the coal mine underground caught fire, and is still burning decades later. Like, because it's coal, it keeps burning, and basically, like, fumes have been like bubbling up through cracks in the ground around the town. So like, and like they're deadly fumes. So like they've completely cordoned off the town, and only like I think there's only like a few people that still live in the town because like this is their land, this is their property, and they'll stay on it. Damn it!
Is that why Silent Hill has fog everywhere?
Silent Hill drew heavy inspiration from the abandoned town of Centralia because of the because it does have like occasionally a weird haze to it and such as a result of the smoke that's coming up from the ground. It was also used in the Everyman Hybrid Slender Vlog series. They actually went in. They went to Centralia, looking for clues as to like the Slender Man creature that was afflicting them. Yeah, it's used in a lot of like stories and creepy videos and video games as an inspiration for like basically ruin porn and creepy shit happening in abandoned places. Like it's sort of like the penultimate abandoned town because of the circumstances around
Considering
it.
It was brought up like 3 or 4 times in the story, I thought it was something that was brought up in a previous entry of Cold Relics.
No, it's brought up a lot, I think, in this one because it is also Pennsylvania's like claim to creepy fame. Mm-hmm. Like Pennsylvania's got a bunch of creepy things, but Centralia is like on the top 5 list.
Okay.
But yeah, no. As soon as that came up, I was like, I was actually wondering if like the way they were saying it in the story, I was wondering, it's like, is this actually going to end up just like going to Centralia, or is this a complete red herring in reference?
You never know.
Like even when Boris says like it has nothing to do with Centralia, and then like cut to a couple of paragraphs later, I can't believe we're in Centralia.
Yeah.
My next actual thought here is in regards to the one photo, and there's a quote, but that's clearly a second D after the first.
Yeah.
And looking at the photo, for me at least, it could be an S. So it's not very clear at all.
For me, it could be a P or an R.
See, and I think it could be an O.
A lot of letters, apparently.
Yeah, like it could be a P or an R or an O, an S. Like it could be a D.
But it's not clear.
Yeah. It's almost. I do like that we get an explanation, a potential explanation for like how this photo came to be. Like maybe it was never meant to be taken. Like it was sort of like pocket photoed or pocket shot.
Yeah, it was quick drawn.
Yeah. Quick snap.
How could you see that as an O? That's very clearly a straight line on the left.
Okay. Wow. I feel attacked.
Well, you're an idiot and you're wrong.
Okay, that's fair. It's fine. But no, like I can see like all the other ones. I can also see it though. Like if like that the it's just faded and blurry enough at the corner there that it could be like a distortion of the curve.
Yeah.
Of an
Plus, it's not like it's a typed out font. It looks like someone just did it with a freaking paintbrush. So yeah, it could just be that weirdness of doing it by hand as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, also that yeah, you're absolutely right. It could like, and they even bring up it could be a photoshopped piece of imagery. It would also make sense that if this Kittyland place is supposed to be like kind of like a whimsical place, and it makes sense that their name almost had like kind of like somebody like just painted Kittyland like with a large brush of paint. So it sort of works in its favor to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And not to take over the spot again,
Oh, yeah.
but I'm going to. Because now that we're on the idea of this image, I didn't bring it up earlier, but when I was talking about like the game Control and how that this story kind of gave me vibes of that, it almost like this image, like it almost reminds me of in Control, like when the Federal Bureau of Control is exploring astral space. They are able to take like special photographs of the astral plane, and basically like they're taking the photos of another dimension, like through like with like satellite with like specialized like satellite imagery. And this kind of reminds me of that, like of some of the images that they were able to recover from the other reality. So I was wondering if maybe this photo that was taken and like hidden in that little box that the seller's dad had, I wonder if this is actually like a photo that the government took of the astral space, or the space where Kitty Land resides. Like this is actually a photo of that other reality, because it's also in film grain and staticky.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Now, another proposal or counter proposal to that is that because Kate and Tyler and Boris particularly Kate, who experienced Kittyland firsthand, because she saw this photo before going under from the influence of the frequency, maybe the reason why that reality was all staticky and black and white was because of this image.
Yeah, you might be right, actually.
So it could go either way for me.
Yeah, because Boris saw this image too, obviously.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the same. He didn't have the connection that Kate and Tyler and our hero had, where like they had experienced they remember Kittyland from their childhood, whereas Boris did not.
I understand that, but even when they were sitting in the van before they left, it was getting all staticky and devoid of color.
Well, that's how Kate was experiencing. But then she like looked over to Boris, and he was seeing something, but she didn't think or know that he was seeing the same thing she was. Like they may not have been sharing the same experience, even though they may have been sharing like some part of the experience, but like because they have different perspectives and different like mindsets, they were experiencing something slightly different. But yeah, I think you could go either way on that of what this image is. Sorry, I'll hand here's the mic key.
Just this little bit. I'm glad that there was a description underneath of what the image is, because when I first saw the image, I had no idea what the hell I was looking at.
I'll be honest, it doesn't look like a ride to me.
When I first saw it, I thought it was something sitting on a table, like the white bar at the bottom, like connected to the back of the white, and that's a table, and there's something weird sitting on it. That's what I thought it was. But in hindsight, after the description, that bar is like a safety railing, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Also, like, again, because of like how cluttered it is, and like how sort of it's defined and undefined. Like, there's a lot of cluster here in this image of like the machinery. I was like, I can kind of see this being like, I can kind of make out like maybe that's like a Ferris wheel ride, or like the spinning theme park ride. But it could also just be a bunch of like junk from an AV club thing at a school. Like it kind of looks like it could also be like the like projector cranes and like some of that old like high school technology, that like projection technology that people that they'd store in like a storage room. And then just Photoshop that up to make it and then it's like this. But yeah, I also am glad that it has a descriptor at the bottom, because it sort of helps push the narrative in the direction that the author wants for the photo. Hand that mic back to Mikey.
There you go, sir.
Alright, so my next actual thought here. The thing had arms and legs, but no hands or feet, and its head was nothing more than a faceless blob. So my visual was either sort of the male bathroom logo come to life, or a Minecraft character with a round head.
Yeah. See, I was thinking, my visual for this creature was honestly the main. This is spoilers for an anime, but for Toppa Tengen Gurren Lagann, the final boss adversary is very similar in the description that we got, where it's like it's a silhouette of a person, of a humanoid, but like it's kind of ill-defined in terms of, and it's got like an energetic outline around it. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, wow. It's called the it's known as the anti-spiral. And this is the image. This is what I was envisioning for anti-spiral, or for the creature or the entity that will formerly the entity formerly known as Funbun.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can pull this up here.
So without eyes, I imagine.
Yeah. Oh, you took a picture, or you
typed in Andy's
got a photo of it? That's fair. Like it was sort of like that kind of like sketchiness, basically, but like with a silhouette of just darkness, and then, like you said, minus the facial features. But yeah, I do like the description you gave of it's just the it's the men's symbol for a bathroom. Yep. He's out to get you.
Sure, it's not this version of the anti-spiral.
Oh God! Wow. Ooh, wow. Also, it's funny that you brought this up too, because I just watched a Backrooms short film over the weekend with some friends, and they in the movie, like the guys like going through the back rooms, and there's this stick man that attacks him, and it's like this like it's a clearly animated stick man, but like it's all like very sketchy and like kind of constantly in flux, and it's just like as it's coming at him, and it's like it's kind of funny, but also if I was in the back rooms, if I was in that situation and it was coming at me, I'd be terrified.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, and then that watching that video, my buddies then brought up this series called Beyond Creepy, where this guy like talks about like weird mysteries and the accounts that people have of cryptids and stuff, and he brought up the stick men, which apparently people are seeing stick men in the world, out in the world. Like while they're driving, they look out and they see like a stick man, a stick figure man, like like how you would expect that to be, like the men's like somebody, as if somebody drew a stick man like on paper and then put that in reality. Yeah, so it's just funny that like we bring this up and like we're reading the story, and then Mikey's bringing up the figure and its shape and stuff, and I just like got off from the weekend reading and watching Stickman monsters in reality.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah,
I basically saw him like a tall oval with like a circle for a head on top of that, and then his arms came out from that where arms and legs would come out, but they like they started at normal length and then kind of went down into like points, but like they had no ends or anything. They were just sort of like lines that came out.
Yeah, they're like almost like tapered.
Yeah, I saw him like he's humanoid, but it's not a human shape.
Yeah, it's like something trying to be a human shape, but failing. Yeah. Wow, so you got the most Lovecraftian of like entity like form of us all. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you.
Par for the course for the show. Totally wouldn't have been you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mikey.
And that's the end of my extra thoughts.
Oh, okay. Then we get on to Gamer.
Okay. So I got to this line where it says, Boris, this is Kate's first email. Boris, my name's Kate. Kind of an acquaintance with Tyler and Redacted. So I kind of hope there's a good reason that the main character of this whole string of stories has no name. Like, everyone else gets fake names. Why can't he? Why is he just Redacted or our hero?
Also, why was he redacted when we were already using our hero as the name? Like in the like in the spot where you put like the author of each story. When our hero was writing the stories, his name, his moniker in those stories was called Our Hero.
Okay, but yeah. So first off, yes. Second off, Why doesn't he just get a normal name? Call him Steve. Like, give him a code name.
Yeah, that's
it
true.
Makes
Yeah.
it so annoying.
I think part of it may be like kind of hinting that like Tyler has a bit of hero worship over him, like because he's sort of like he was sort of like our hero's ward, like he took over after our hero went into the coma, so like he's kind of and he's been like the most excited about all this weird bullshit. So like maybe it's just like a hint of like that he thinks very highly of our hero.
After the fact, maybe, but the first couple of postings were quote unquote our hero posting the stories.
That is
calling
also
himself
true.
our hero.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Wow. Yeah, so maybe our hero has a little bit of a hero
Yeah, a
complex.
little bit. I just wish he'd have a normal name. It doesn't have to be
just
his
use
name.
Steve. Yeah.
Make it John Smith. It really doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on. So Boris responds to the first email, and then Kate responds back by saying, Boris, I think we should have kept this transcription of the journal between us. Meanwhile, when you look back at what Boris said, he didn't say anything specifically in the journal. It's not like he was leaking information to her. He just said that he was reading the journal and quote unquote tearing it up, not literally.
The journal that he's talking about was the last story, like the Electric Rabbit.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the Electric Rabbit was. That was the journal. Those were all the journal entries that our hero was doing right before he got into a coma, and then that story got transcribed by by Boris, and then given to Tyler to post online.
Oh, he was saying something like it was Tyler's journal.
No.
Like, missing words. I'm still trying to understand it myself. He wrote a journal about his experience that I'm tearing apart, figuratively speaking.
Yeah.
Who's he?
Okay, so that's our hero talking about that. Yeah, we got
it starts
one.
By Kate. Tyler's told me about you. I'm still trying to understand it myself. He wrote a journal about his experience.
So okay, but look at the subject line of the email: the Fun Bun incident. That's what they're referring to.
The last,
which is the Electric Rabbit
Tyler.
Story. Okay, but it's not Tyler that he. It's not Tyler's notes. It was our hero's notes that he's ripping or he's transcribing and putting down.
You should say our hero,
and that's what Kate is
about his experience. Then.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. You're right. It just cuts as
Yeah.
You just have a Schwarzenegger moment from
run outside, screaming, come back in. Yeah. This is fine. Either way, I'll move on from there. I don't think any of us should get physically involved. It's too dangerous. For God's sakes, this all started with a toy gun that supposedly blew up a kid. And yeah, that's true and everything. But it's kind of a shame that the laser tag story was just sort of left as a one-off, and the focus has been almost exclusively on Kittyland. Because I don't remember specifically the connection between laser tag and Kittyland. However, after reading the story, it shows that there's a laser tag arena there, so okay. They had a laser tag arena there, and this guns got out, I guess. But the main focus has just been on Kittyland, really.
So, I interpreted that the laser tag thing was there, because Kate has read all the stories up to this point, and again, the Kittyland dimension, whatever, being kind of metamorphic to the whim of the person's like the person that's interacting with it, and like it's basically like because she knew about the laser tag thing, suddenly there's a new addition to Kittyland, a laser tag place. I also agree with you though, like, and the reason why I think these stories have started kind of like rotating or revolving around Kittyland, and that is because that was our hero's like personal experience and adventure into this weird anachronistic technology. Like the laser tag one was a story that he found on an old toy forum, like abandoned toy forum.
Yes, however, at this point in the story, you could just not read the laser tag story and you understand everything. It's kind of useless information, unfortunately, which I hate to say because it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
And I like that story, I think.
Oh, yeah, you did.
But it's
I
kind
think.
of unnecessary, unfortunately.
It's part of a problem. I think I not a problem, but like sort of a thing with this story, with these newer stories of the Cold Relic stories, where they're starting to form an interconnected narrative. And so the sort of, I think the original idea might have been that like do like a weird Cold War relic of the of the week sort of situation, but then they dropped that for an interconnected kind of narrative.
Yeah, like laser tag was the first one, right?
Yeah, laser tag was
with
the first.
That, I thought it was going to be like after just reading the first story, I thought the continuations were going to be okay. They found another weird toy that this company made. We need to track down this company.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's just a one-off.
Wait a minute. We might be going back to the laser tag company, because didn't it say at the end of that like a person found that in Ukraine?
Found what?
Like found like the company's like part of the company's like the packaging for laser tag was from Ukraine, or am I like misremembering?
Pulling
that?
a Kate, and actually Kate is technically fabricating shotguns, so she's pulling to you.
Yes. Oh no. But yeah, like I remember like there was something like I remember that at the end of laser tag, like they got a message from like I should just look it up.
I'm gonna
just
right
look up
now,
laser tag for a second. Quickly just double check that. I think it was at the very end of the laser tag video, the laser tag story. He's okay. So it was a guy from Poland, and he described a box that he found in his neighbor's attic, who was a collector of strange things, and it said that the year was 1986. There was an original instructions manual, and the image of a boy shooting another boy, and he looked terrified. Looked like a terrifying child story.
Who made it? No company name. The language on the box and most of the instructions is clearly in Belarusian.
Belarusian, yeah, and Belarus. We're doing some freaking like some sleuthing ourselves here. Oh wow! I'm completely off. Belarus is in Eastern Europe, so it's in the east. Oh, Ukraine. It's bordered by Belarus is bordered by Russia to the east and northeast, and Ukraine to the south, and Poland to the west. Wow, I was completely off on that, but yeah, that is.
So if the main company is there, that doesn't mean that all of their factories are there. They could have a factory in Ukraine. That is a Belarusian company.
Yeah, which might. Yeah, and I've not done any research on the next story, but except for that cliffhanger ending that Tyler gave us for this one, where he's got some coordinates in Ukraine. We know the
next story is called the Liminal Warehouse because it says at the very top.
So that, and it's very possible that like they'd have distribution warehouses in different locations. Mm-hmm. So even in a bordering country,
so maybe I'll wrap around to it. Yeah, but as it is, the laser tag thing is just they are guns made with the quote unquote engine inside them, I believe, because the engine is what makes everything weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll move on from there. So moving on, there's Kate's Christmas email where she gives them her well wishes and says that she wants to find out more information, all that shit. And then just no one responds to it, and then just Boris continues with something else. It's kind of weird how
and in January, I think, or like...
It's kind of weird how every other email is responded with, even if it's someone just saying, sounds good. Like, there's always a response. Meanwhile, Kate types out this nice email to everyone, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and hopes everyone's doing good, and they just ignore it. Like, there was no information in it that was necessary to the plot.
Yeah.
So, either have people respond to it like everyone's been responding, or just don't do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, because it does add a little bit of like we're reading like the serious investigation. Then we have like, oh, and this was also added between this, but like I'm not going to remove it because it was a really quick thing. And it's just like her wishing well wishes and stuff like that. What we're not seeing though, because it's a transcribed format, is that both Tyler and Boris did like the the liked this email
Is that a
thing, because like that's the thing that it's something we do in our office like constantly, like when like basically in agreement of an email, like rather than like do a worded reply, we just click the affirmative like thumbs up.
However, the very last sentence that she says is, "Does this one feel different in regards to like all the waiting games that they're on?" So she's asking a question and not getting an answer.
Yeah, that's fair. That's kind of a dick move. Also, when did Boris reply after that Christmas one? Was it like a month or two after?
12 days later, 14 days later, something like that.
Yeah, fair. Well, I mean, maybe he was busy during the holidays and he didn't get around to his emails.
But he didn't respond to it. He just responded. He just started his new line of information.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I love Boris, but that was kind of a dick move.
Either way, I can move on now.
Yes.
Even so, this one's broadcast hours must have had a relationship with the disruption. Kind of sounds like a Hanar radio jockey talking about the station that he's on.
God damn it! Yeah. This one hopes you will love the new hit tunes the Enkindlers have brought us.
New character for our Mass Effect game, maybe?
Son of a bitch.
Take our hero and make it sound Hanar or something weird like that.
Yeah. You're listening to this one's new broadcast, Our Hero, at 65425.
How many Hanar names go? This is totally relevant.
So Hanar names, they generally don't have I think they generally don't have. So they have two names. They have a very personal, intimate name that they only give out to family and very close friends. And then they generally, I don't think they have a very generalized or a very, very simple name at best for outsiders and strangers, or they just refer to them as this one.
Oh, yeah, a face name and a soul name is what they call it, apparently.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. Yep.
Hanar are weird. Not relevant to the story.
Hanar are weird, but awesome. Yes, that should be reserved for our sister podcast, One Less Die, a gaming actual play podcast.
Yes. Also,
plug.
In regards to the visual of the entity at the end, I think part of the reason that the shape of that was the way that I saw it is because you recently showed me what you explained could be Hanar in a mech suit in like power armor. Because it was just like this oval shape with arms coming off of it. I'm like, it's basically just that with a head on it.
Yeah, fair.
But I shall move on.
Okay. When it's not Shadowrun, sorry, Mikey, it's Mass Effect.
That's going to be our new sorry, Mikey, now. He understands Mass Effect.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we don't have to apologize. So then Tyler responds to Kate's day one entry about finding the radio station and all that. He says, just hope you find something a little, bigger up there. And to me, I'm like, I think finding a radio station that is blocking satellite coverage during its operating hours is pretty big. Like,
yeah,
Tyler's being a little negative Nancy over here. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler. What did you do with your day?
What have you been up to? You're the one that can't make it up here to help look for this fucking thing. You're the one that's super excited about all this bullshit.
Like, I kind of wish there was a little bit of.
What have you been doing? Oh, you've been looking for you've been looking at some coordinates for some place in Ukraine.
Oh, good for you.
Oh, big fucking whoop!
How was it?
yeah, basically.
Yeah. It kind of would have been funny if there's a little bit of sass because of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It would have added to the. That would definitely have added more to the characters.
But I'll move on. It gets to a point where Boris is asking Kate if he should turn the game on or not when they're in his white panel van. And Kate writes, "Hell yes, we're doing it." But I only responded with a go ahead. And to me, I'm like, oh, it would have been great to hear her say it like that. Be like, hell yeah. Because she's been so chill and quote unquote normal this whole time.
Yeah, she's very reserved when she like outwardly, but like in her mind, she's like, "Yeah, let's do this."
She just says, "Yes, please go ahead." Just proceed.
Tell my wife hello.
And then it gets on to Boris and Kate hallucinating. And Kate writes, "I could tell that he was seeing moving forms out there as well. Judging by his eyes' darting movement, God, that's terrible. I don't think he saw the same ones I did. So, why not ask him? Use your words and ask.
Yeah, it's weird that like he didn't. Yeah,
they go through shit.
Like even after the fact,
and then they're like, okay, what did you see? Oh, you saw that. Neat. I saw this. They're just like, let's turn it off and just go about their ways. I think they asked like one or two questions between each other, but they did not share what each other saw. It was weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird because
why wouldn't you, right? Especially if she's noticing that he's not looking at the same things she's looking at, then she'd be like, okay, well, what is he looking at? I need to know. We're out here to do science, so tell me science.
Yeah, tell me science things. Tell me your observations of the experiment. Let us share notes. Human
and other human things.
I don't know why. Like, yeah. Well, I actually have. I left it on my notes, but I do have a theory. I had a potential theory like that spawned while I was not reading this part, but like when Boris and Kate come out of the final like part of their experiment, and Boris is just kind of like sort of very calmly, like he's a lot more calm and like straight to the point than she is. Yeah. Do you have anything about that, or are you gonna move on from that stuff? Okay. Wait, nope, as in no, you don't, or
no, I do not have any more information about Boris acting like a robot. Would you like to elaborate?
Yes, I would like to elaborate. I think, at the time when I was reading this part of the story, I was like, or is he fine? Or is he, in fact, the entity possessing Boris's body? Like, he says that he just outran the monster in his dreamscape. But did he, in fact, outrun it? Or did it do exactly to him what it did almost did to Katie? Or almost did to Kate? And completely, like Agent Smith him.
No, that probably happened.
Well, because like I was wondering that, but then like as it went on, like it kind of deviates a little bit because like he stayed there for another 3 years, for another 3 days to investigate and dig deeper, and then got spooked by a man in black.
He tells you,
so
that doesn't mean that's what happened.
That is true. It's like I don't want to believe it, but at the same time, it's like I think our poor sweet Boris has been taken over, has been pod peopled.
He may have been.
But yeah, that was the vibe I was getting when like she was describing his reaction coming out of the trance or the situation.
Yeah, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah,
which, as you say, is unfortunate because Boris is awesome, but he drives a panel van. It's creepy now.
the weirdest, like the sweetest, most awkward man.
But I shall move on. This is in regards to Kate's hallucination going towards Kittyland. I would have gotten to it faster if it wasn't for those meddling kids. No, if I had felt compelled to keep looking behind me. Maybe it was just a fear of the same pursuer that chased our friend in a dream, but I also had a feeling that I was being watched or followed. That might just be because like Boris is in the same sort of dream right behind her. Like they may be sharing a plane of existence somewhat. Like they're both kind of there, but not really.
Yeah, like they can't perceive each other, but they're sharing the same existence or the same. They're like slightly skewed perception. Like
yeah, so you'd still have that feeling like someone's looking at you, even if there's no one there. That being said, by the end, something jumps out and grabs her, so it was probably stalking her. it's fine.
Yeah.
Then gets on to Madeline and everything, and says, Madeline, my older sister by 2 years. I don't care if I should change your name for the sake of my identity safety. I'm not going to. I can't do that. And I know that she said, she did say at the start of this that Tyler could edit this to keep it clean. I kind of wish that there was a Tyler edit in brackets after this that says like bracket Tyler : I changed it in bracket.
Yeah, I really want that too. Honestly,
like, I get it if she can't change it because that's who she saw and she's like sort of traumatized by this. But if Tyler's trying to protect her identity, he should be changing it.
Yeah, just like Tyler, just bracket Tyler : I got you, fam. In bracket. Like bam, done.
And then then in the dream it's describing the visual of Kittyland and everything. And it says, but all these elements had nothing on the world's centerpiece, Kittyland itself. It was alive, bright, noisy, and full-sized, as big as any amusement park in a reality. It was maybe half a mile away. That's what she saw when she first got in there, basically. So then she walked half a mile and apparently still had time to explore this within 5 minutes. Because, of course, previously said, that it doesn't matter, you'd be kicked out within 5 minutes anyways. And then I just responded to that saying, I hope that this is explained as to why. Like maybe his estimate is wildly wrong or something. And then 2 sentences later, she says, what happened to time? I have been in this place for longer than 5 minutes. So it's like, okay. So
it does address it, but doesn't. But I have a perfect, valid explanation for why. Because dreams are weird when it comes to time. Like you could be spending hours in a dream and it's only be 5 minutes.
However,
and vice versa. Honestly, like time dilation is weird in your mental state because your thought processes are working a lot faster than your body would be.
But I feel like this should have been brought up way earlier, because if it's half a mile away, like as soon as she sees that, you figure she'd be like, oh shit, it's half a mile away. Boris said I only have 5 minutes in here. I better run to get as close as I can before we get kicked out. But meanwhile, it's like, no, it's 5 miles away. Or it's what was it? Half a mile away?
5 minutes?
Half a mile away.
Or half a mile, not 5 miles.
Meanwhile, the way that it was presented to me is she gets in, looks around, it's weird, turns around, there's a tree there, looks and finds there's Kittyland. It's half a mile away. Okay. And then because there's no urgency to it, I just imagined that she just calmly walked over there for like many, many minutes to get there.
Yeah. Well, and then she later goes on and says like that she suddenly, because she's in a dream sequence, she doesn't recall the transitionary periods of walking. Like she knows that she walked, but she doesn't recall that walking time. Like she was just like suddenly she was at the starting point, and then she was at Kittyland's entrance, and then she was like checking out the rides, but she doesn't remember the transition between rides and walking.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's something in dreams that happens a lot. Like you don't, like your mind doesn't bother like buffering that memory.
Yeah. So like maybe she basically just teleported ahead when she wanted to go there and all that. But I just wish that the urgency was there, because you only have 5 minutes and it's way the fuck over there. That's where you need to go in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, there's no stress of that situation.
Yeah.
But I will beating that dead horse and move on.
No, it is a valid point, because it maybe should be addressed a little bit earlier than it is.
My next note is just about the monster's description and how I liked it. Like it's wordy, but in a nice way. That's kind of cool. I had it quoted, but I don't really need to read the whole thing.
Yeah, the void over the void where no static or film grain permeates or something like that.
It was a dark and featureless. It's a body of black hole.
That was
the only thing truly solid in this world, as nothing. Not even film grain or static inhibited its form. The only thing, the thing had arms and legs, but no hands or feet. and its head was nothing more than a faceless blob. Its outline, however, was very energetic. Bolts of bright white electricity darted around its frame, giving the being a two-dimensional look. It was like seeing a growing flame burn a negative space into an old film reel.
Such a good
cool.
description. Yeah. I'm glad you read that.
Well, I had to read that. I had to read every word in this story. Oh, you mean on recording?
I mean, like,
I see.
Now.
I thought you meant
Yes.
in general.
See, I thought you were going to like, well, you did such a piss poor job of
snap.
summarizing it. Oh, snapped to myself. Sick burn. Review call this.
Thanks, as you say to yourself. But
Yeah.
I will move on. This is Kate saying apparently what Boris said about his trip in the second time. He claimed to have only seen a vast, open, empty, dark field. No Kittyland, no ghosts. He just had the forest, grass, sky, and the ellipses monster. So basically, he was playing Slender, the 8 pages. He was just walking around in the forest.
No,
with,
100%.
monster chasing him, and that's about it.
Yep.
Cool. Although, with your theory out there, he probably found 7 of the pages and then got killed.
Yeah, and then got taken over.
But that is the end of my notes.
Okay. Then, now we shall move on to final thoughts. So, it's another chapter in the growing Cold Relic stories that we've been reading so far. It's definitely in my wheelhouse of weird, creepy topics. Like, again, anachronistic technology that I don't fully understand, has pseudoscience, and has vaguely supernatural properties. And there's a malevolent entity from another dimension that's trying to use that tech to breach into our world. And damn if I'm not intrigued about that. Even if it did end with a cliffhanger. So with that, I'm going to recommend it. However, with the pretense that you should probably read the rest of the stories from Cold Relic up to this point, because this story uses almost all of the like they at least name drop all of the previous entries at least once.
Yeah. Is there 3 previous ones right now?
So we had Laser Tag. There is the Electric Rabbit. There was Liz 4.
Kittyland?
And Kittyland. Yeah. So there are 4 so far. And then this is really, honestly, this one felt kind of like, so like we've had an example of something new, and I guess this one is also something new because it's a radio frequency like that. That's like it's a basically a number station story, or it's like where there's a signal that they're trying to find
It's
and trying
at
to
the
like figure out
location of Kittyland, so it's technically Kittyland 2.
Yeah, no, it's like it's almost like a crossover. This story in particular is almost like a crossover event because they are bringing in Kittyland, this radio signal that may be connected to the bunkers of the Liz 4
so
project.
This is the Avengers.
It kind of honestly, it kind of felt like an Avengers stuff, like a crossover event, like where and like again the monster, even though like they keep referencing the shadowy organization from Liz 4, we never really see them except for like the one moment like where they might have been watching them, or they might have been watching Boris at the end. They're just kind of paranoid about them after reading all their stories, and they keep referencing back like, "Oh, I've read all the stories up to this point. I don't know if I believe half of them, but like, here's another thing that we should maybe look into," kind of situation. And then then the main antagonist of this story ultimately is the creature that was projecting the facade of Fun Bun.
Probably.
So so it's sort of a it's bringing something new to the table with the radio signal, but it's also kind of tying up all it's connecting all the dots from
it might
the previous
also not
stories.
be new at all, because that radio signal could just be the thing that they destroyed in Kittyland the first time.
You're right. Like they didn't have anything that like would have told them like, oh, this is something here. Like there was mention of like some kind of a signal, like our hero when he goes over to Keyline, he gets like a similar kind of like weird, like sees like a tear in reality, like or something like that. So maybe that was just part like maybe that was the event that was going to take place over 90 minutes, like that weird situation.
Yeah, that didn't go anywhere yet, right? As I recall.
It did go in this story. It's a mystery that hasn't been fully fleshed out yet. Though it is brought up in the story, like it's present in the story as like a weird energy buildup in the air that like drowns out all other like signals and frequencies. So so it's kind of a new thing, but also just kind of tying up all the other stories together, and then continue, and then like leaving off as almost kind of like serializing the event. So like now it's to be continued in the next story. So, and again, but like that's for me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like the story probably won't be that great on its own for a reader. So I would recommend, I do recommend the story, but I recommend reading the other stories beforehand to kind of get the context. So, yeah, that's my thought, that's my actual thoughts. That's my final thoughts. Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, it's an interesting story. It took me a while to remember what Fun Bun and all that was at the beginning.
It was a couple of months ago since we did like the last one, so I apologize.
I started typing down the characters' names because I'm like, okay, these are new characters. I have to type them down, and then they started talking. I'm like, wait, okay, he knows him and her. Oh, that's them from that. Okay, like I had to put the pieces together because again, it's been a while.
Yeah, been a while.
Yeah, so it works as sort of a back and forth, but then we get the meat of the story from Kate.
Yeah.
At the last 2 entries.
Yeah. I definitely like we were reading like the story like as these like email format, and then we got to like the day 1, day 2 like rundowns or like kind of storyline, and then when we started reading, I was like, and here's the traditional storytelling format
we were out
of the
series.
yeah, basically, like it was. I thought it was interesting, but like, did you like that or not like that?
Well, it was interesting. They've done other journal entry stuff before, right?
Yeah, they've done
Liz 4 a journal entry.
Yeah, I think actually the last couple have been like the first one was more traditional, like just an account that was recalled. Then we got like Electric Rabbit and Liz 4, which was straight up like log entries or journal entries, and I think also Kittyland was also a more of a traditional story account. And then this one is just another kind of log entry.
Kind of, it is exactly a log entry format.
No, I mean with the email correspondence, like it's a lot less formal than like a journal entry sort of format.
Okay, gotcha.
Until the last 2 entries, and then it's just like straight up, like day 1, here's the events that happened. Day 2, here's the other events that happened. I'm writing this a week later.
So I like it because something eventually happens, but I also dislike it because it happens in the dreamish world and just sort of everyone gets knocked out for 5 minutes and then comes to.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to have misgivings about the dream sequence stuff, even though this one's, is it a dream, or is it like that they're entering a new, like another state of awareness and reality?
It could be sleep paralysis.
Like I had this whole like pre-set up like inner monologue like combat with you in my head before the recording. Yeah, where I was like, well, to counter you, they can't. This is like an artificially induced coma that they're stuck in, so they can't actually leave it until the time's up, and so they have to they have to wait that out, but then they're stuck in this horrible reality in their own minds.
You know how much Mikey loves sleep paralysis.
Well, do we know who their friend is that was redacted?
Hero.
Yeah, our hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would have been interesting if he showed up in the dream sequence because he's in a coma, right?
Fuck you!
That would have been awesome.
Damn it! That would have been so good. I mean,
If he's like tied up somewhere.
yeah, like he's there in Kittyland. He's trapped, or he's the one that shows up, like out of the dark, like out of the silhouette of the creature. Like he just kind of like manifests, and he's been completely taken over.
Hmm.
Like it's him, but his eyes are just static. Like there's no eyes. That's just static in the holes.
What was Madeline looking at? Was she looking at the merry-go-round?
Yeah, I think she was looking at the merry-go-round,
on the
and then she turned
there's
around.
A bunch of people tied to the horses, and one of them is our hero.
Oh fuck! Yeah. God damn it, Mikey! You made it so much better if that had been the case.
Part of his job description.
Yeah, it is.
Is to attempt to make the story better or worse.
Yeah. Also, we didn't actually really talk about it, but did anybody else like how Madeline, she got out of the she sat up from the wheelchair and then passed through it, and it just dissolved into static.
Yeah, cool.
And then I thought that was a really cool effect, because it was I was reading that, I got a chills. I'd be fucking terrified if that happened to me. if somebody was just I get creeped out from somebody perpetually smiling at me and walking toward me in a dark alley. That's one of my fears.
Yeah.
It's
but phasing through it and it disappearing, it just kind of made it feel like it was in VR or something. It sort of disconnected a little bit from it, because it shows that this world isn't real.
Yeah. And I think this is also part of the transistor punk or early cyberpunk, is this felt like they were stuck in a hot VR, or they were trapped in is that what it's called, gamer, in Shadowrun? Sorry, Mikey. Hot sim. Yeah, she's trapped in a hot sim, where there's a potential threat to her if she gets hurt, and she gets dump shot back to her body. But yeah, that's sort of the vibe I was thinking of, sort of a blend of early cyberpunk descriptors and transistor punk version of that, because it's all staticky and film grain and stuff. But I digress. I'll be quiet again.
And then it also would have been interesting if Fun Bun had shown up, because they did activate the game.
But he may have shown up.
Just with.
Well, yeah, I think.
Well, but as a rabbit, not as a. Not as the guy from Minecraft with a.
Yeah, not like an Enderman, like a blank-faced Enderman. Although I think it would be cool, Madeline is coming toward her, and then she vanishes, and then she feels that hot breath on the back of her neck and stuff like that, and then she turns around, and at first it's Mr. Funbun, but then it broils away in static to reveal the actual form of Mr. Funbun, or if Mr. Funbun's form stretches out and rips apart as the true form is revealed.
It can't be Fun Bun, with the visual of Fun Bun, because she has not seen the game, I don't think.
Oh, so maybe Boris saw Mr. Fun Bun.
The game was on in the background, because he turned the game on, but he didn't hook it up with the camera or nothing, so he didn't see any. She didn't. If she saw the screen, she didn't see any of the weird stuff of the game. It would just be Fun Bun sitting there. And whether or not she has. Actually, she does have the information, because she saw the journal, quote unquote, from before.
She's read the stories. Yeah, she's read the previous entries that have been posted on the website.
She hasn't gone through the game itself, so maybe she could see it.
Yeah.
Still.
Mm-hmm.
I'll digress this time.
Although I think it's more possible that that's probably what Boris saw was Mr. Fun Bun.
That's been his obsession for so long.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, I'm going to give this a partial recommendation.
Okay. And gamer.
For me, I like the email format of it. So, as I said, it should be spaced out by one line each. And I found the wording of the wording of that I was trying to find before. I wrote it down, but I just wasn't reading my own damn notes. An extra line between each email would be nice. That's what I was trying to say before that I just could not get those words out. It's fine.
Okay.
The emails felt very natural, except for the one where they didn't respond to her happy holidays, but that's fine. So seeing their transcripts while they try to figure this shit out was kind of nice. The entity formerly known as Slender Man has an interesting and well-described visual to him, though at the end of the day, it's a Slender Man. He's a tall, lanky thing with no face that stalks you in the woods, causes static, and converts you when he gets you.
I mean, honestly, that's an archetype. At this point, it's not just Slenderman. That's like there are multiple creatures that fit that bill. So it's more of like an archetype than a like, oh, it's just a Slenderman clone. Like, it's a type of creature now at this point.
It almost feels like this was written as a response to Slenderman's popularity in a way.
I mean, I'm fine with that because it combines Slenderman tropes with like with number station tropes.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to shit on it.
Oh,
I'm just saying that's what it seems like. But that creature and everything, I'm curious how it's going to be explained. If it's the game doing it, or if it's the game, or if the game is just a way for the creature to stumble across them and everything. And that's actually stalking the site of Kittyland or whatever. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But overall, I'll recommend the story. But as you say, you should read the other ones. Maybe not the laser tag one, because so far it hasn't been connected in any way. Or hell, even Liz 4. The information from Liz 4, you didn't necessarily need in this.
Yeah, it's really just like, honestly, like, I feel like Liz 4 and laser tag are probably the least amount you really need to read if you want to just like read baseline stuff. You could just get away with Kittyland and Electric Rabbit.
The main quest line of this is Kittyland, Electric Rabbit, and Signal Intercept. And then the side missions, the side quests are laser tag and Liz 4 currently, until they get a bigger
currently
role in this whole story.
Yeah, because again, I thought because it mentions early on in this story that like the shadow organization that's like sort of that they heard about from the Liz 4 account. I thought they were going to be the main antagonist for this one, and then it turned out to be Mr. Funbun's true form. And then they get kind of name dropped at the end when Boris thinks he sees somebody who's there who might have just been a Forest Service guy. But yeah, it seemed kind of weird that like I guess maybe it just kind of adds to like their own paranoia after reading the last story, or like kind of getting into the last story, that like now they're kind of getting worried, like they say in the story itself, they're getting worried and more paranoid about this other this organization.
Also, that guy in the suit is like the final nail in the coffin in regards to the Slenderman connections, because it's a guy in the forest in a suit.
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, and in the original lore of Slenderman, he wasn't faceless. When somebody saw, he was only faceless in photography. When you actually saw Slenderman, he was just a tall guy in a suit with a nondescript face.
So it literally could just be Slenderman.
Like he was just
actually Slenderman that they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, like Mr. Funbun's like true form could actually just, this could be Mr. Like maybe he did break out that night, like while they were in that trance. Like maybe he did manage to escape into our reality. Or maybe Boris. Or maybe Boris like thought he escaped it, but now he's starting to see things out in the woods, like he's being Slenderstalked.
Yeah, as much as I don't want Boris to be have a control assumed directly over top of him, I believe he has been. At least, rather, I think that is it's an interesting way that it could go that you brought up, him being completely controlled by him right now. Like he failed his mini quest in the dreamscape.
Yeah, he failed his will saves, and now he's been hissed to reference control.
But yeah, as I said, or actually I don't know if I said it or not. Overall, I recommend it.
Okay, so I believe that's 2.5 out of 3. With some precautionary recommendations of like maybe some pre-reading before you read the story.
Name your main character. Just saying. Or like if
God damn, you've named every other character
if
except
there's
for our hero.
a damn good reason that he's been redacted in Our Hero this whole time because of some twist at the end, fine. But if there isn't, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Hashtag Our Hero Academia.
Wow. Oh my god. You start school. His name is Our Hero because he just goes by like the abbreviation of his first name. His last name is Hero. His name is like Roger Hero or something like that.
Yeah, or Howard Hero. So like it's like Our is his nickname for his first name.
They push
a little bit pushing it. Yeah. Also, no. I think Our Hero Academia is the alternate title for Cold Relics. Because an academy is just like kind of an umbrella organization or umbrella institute for investigating and learning. So, and it all started with Our Hero. So it's Our Hero's Academia. Like his research into this has sparked this whole thing. So yeah, no, 100%. Cold Relics, Our Hero Academia. And
Our Heroes Academia. And that's Heroes S ' Academia.
Yeah, possessive, not plural.
Yeah.
Shit.
Unless.
Okay.
Maybe there are more than one.
Oh man. Yeah. But so that at the end of the day, we give it a mostly positive recommendation, but with some required reading. And that has been this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below, wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also send us creepypastas, other spooky things, SCPs. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to talk to us directly on Twitter, you can talk to us through... Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long. And I'm at Review Cultist. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. For our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you guys so much. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void, a silhouetted void that burns across static.
With white static around it.
And if you didn't write these stories and share them online at various websites for people to enjoy and get spooked by, we definitely wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
The E stands for evil.
And I'm our gamer.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.